Hey, beauties, good evening to you. You know, when I think about the condition of Jamaica, you wonder if at any point it will become like the land of milk and honey, like Goshen, like going to the land of Goshen, going to the promised land. You wonder if at some point Jamaica will be, by its inhabitants, consider the place to be envied, that the world would want to not only visit but to be a part of this small, little but with Talawa island. When I think of public sector workers over the many years, how their hearts cry, have gone into vain, they have been like the children of Israel, locked away for 400 and odd years because Pharaoh just seemed to have the keys to everything. And up to now, Moses cannot come. Up to now, we cannot see Moses. Because I have never seen decadence financially as I'm seeing, and even physically, in terms of the crime and violence. There is a linkage in a sense as it relates to low, little to no, or low wages or salaries and crime. There are some linkages, although the predominant factor for me has to do with bad parenting, poor parenting, no parenting. My goodness gracious. When I think of the slogan coined by our Jamaican minister, no public sector worker will be worse off. And to see that public sector workers are worse off, the one or two little ones that scrape through or, missed the worst off, don't count them, but the majority. It is beyond a travesty of justice. It is evil as far as I'm concerned. Many of you cannot even be considered a man after God's own heart or a woman after God's own heart because you don't deal with people fairly and justly. You breached the most important or second to most important commandment, because the most important is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength, every single aspect of you. No human being you must love like that. Doesn't matter if it's your children or your spouses or good friends. And then you love your neighbor. You mean you love the next human being the very same way you love yourselves. You treat the next human being the very same way you treat yourself. David, and as much as Solomon had strayed, they treated people with honor. They treated people with valor. They treated people with respect. And when I think of the public sector workers here in Jamaica, it is a crying shame. You have to say shame on your Ministry of Finance. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. There is no way. I don't know how many of you go to school, study, and take the leadership post, and you're a sore and sour leader. Poor leadership, poor leader. You guys lobbied for other members of parliament to get 100% increase, 200, 300. And it wasn't even chopped up. So it's not like 1 month you get 10, then the next you get 20, then another you get 30, then another you get 40. And the little 20% you split up same way. 5, then 10, then 5, or something like that, or 10, then 5, the 20. It reminds me of when, as much as David was a man after God's own, he knew that his act was heinous, wicked. He had wives. Remember Saul? He was married to Saul's daughter, Micah, who loved him a lot. She kind of did save him life too, But because she did a laugh and a mock him and a go on the most way, why she became barren. And Abigail, remember she had a wicked husband who had no heart towards David. David nearly killed him and she had to stop him and say, no, David, no, your name would go down bad. Make him go on. No worry, man, he's an idiot. And he married her sometime after, plus other wives. And then he see Bathsheba and he must say, I never see nobody pretty so yet in my life. And the one day they get wife for Uriah had, the man take it away. The man take away the one little wife and try to trick the man and set him up for dead. Because probably, one of the possibilities that what he was going to do, marry a divorcee, make her divorce husband, bad it would look. He would stay in his own name, mash up his kingdom, it wouldn't look good. So get rid of the man, yes, and take the wife. That's how him look at it. He feel some crosses and some beating and get some beating from God. But you know, when Nathan reached to him, Nathan said, the prophet said, a man has, like it's a plethora of gold, frank, and this, that, and the other one have a little gold chain, and the one who have the whole heap of gold, this and that. The one, what he consider that man? What he think should happen to that man? The man saying for dead. I King David said that, you know. And you comfortably give the average public sector worker, educated, brilliant, talented, and gifted people. Some of them not recognize it. I recognize them, not recognize it. Sometimes they do folly, loaf, chat people, because they don't recognize the bliss and how they were fearfully and wonderfully made by God. But you sit and you split up the 20%, and you comfortably took the 100, 200, and 300 on already a high salary in comparison to the average public sector worker. Remember years ago, in a minister from the same camp, the presiding leading government stated that anybody earning $500,000 monthly, I heard him, me 2 ears, me 2 eye, me 2 nose heard, me mouth here, me teeth, me tongue here, me hand them here, me foot, me body here. That them barely scraping anybody that earned. That was years ago, long before even we dreamt of COVID. And I remember last year when you spoke in that little meeting, that come December 20, man, people, just tell people what you get. When I saw what came in, I want pop up. Never have a full black, some could have roll and tumble in the ground. I nearly pop up. I said, it was a comedy bus moment when you spoke. Because I said nobody could have gotten less than the 500,000, since people earning that monthly barely scraping. And you have a lot of public sector workers earning under that. And you're comfortable. David was comfortable taking Bathsheba from her. The one wife and the man, when him have wives. And if he wanted more, God probably would have loved. You know, in them days, things just they were different. Shame, no. Shame. A crying shame. You know, make people bawl, you know, good for make people bawl, you know. And when the bawling isn't in vain, we don't talk crocodile tears, as Jamaicans would say. We not talk them the general tears. We talk real tears. When people have to go in the supermarket and put back. When I've heard of people having to make a decision, should the child eat or I eat? Obviously the vulnerable group. The vulnerable one would have to eat, the bikini would have to go eat. And the mother because the mother big and can, you know, old. When I say old, in terms of maturity, have to find a way to bear the hunger. It's not a good feeling. Because them don't have it, they're broke, pauperized, poor. And these are people who went to school thinking that they would have lived, and I put the Jamaican dream, I can't say the American dream, of being in a wonderfully paid job, serving the country wholeheartedly, willingly, emphatically. How most people are earning under the 500,000. And to find a way if you all rig some people the thing and put traveling in the thing and tax. Me Lord. Hey, years ago, Doctor, the late, great, and venerable, the best, to me, I call him the best preacher speaker. Preacher speaker in terms of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, Dr. Miles Monroe. And he did a study on ours, and he said that was years ago. Look how many years he has died. And he said that for every $100 the Jamaicans earn, they have to give out $50 in tax. He was saying it was beyond a travesty of justice. I was listening to him and I said, my God. And this was years ago. The Jamaican people have been financially raped, molested, harassed, beaten, boxed, kick up, thump up, box up, financially. And it has gotten worse and worse and worse. Pure tin things they can only buy cheap. They can only buy the cheap things. Cheap this, cheap that. And you're comfortable. No public sector worker will be worse off. Show me where they're better off. Because the ones, and I speak to many, they're worse off. Far beyond worse off. No, sir. You must be a zombie. Guys, follow me on TikTok. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share this message.